Hey everyone, I'm really excited. Today we've got industry influencer Keith Keller, who is Global Twitter Marketing Specialist. He's been using Twitter for 10 years. He's an expert at the channel, and he's going to tell us today why every small business owner needs to embrace this form of communication, because Facebook's algorithm, if you haven't already noticed, has changed, and it's not looking really good for small business owners. And I work with authors and speakers and coaches, so these changes are going to affect you, and Keith is going to share with us how we can embrace these changes and use them to our best ability. So here's Keith, and I'm going to add him on right now. Hello, Keith.
You can hear me?
I can hear you.
We're rocking it.
We got there. We got there in the end, Keith. Thank you so much for your patience.
Oh, no worries. No worries at all. This is what we do. We crash and burn, and we try things out, and then we sort of share what we learn, isn't it? Share what we know.
I know, Keith. I appreciate your patience, and you're always in such a good mood and always have a positive spin on things. So thank you so much. Before we begin, I just want to recognize you, first of all, as being an awesome bloke. I'm so excited to meet you and to be speaking with you. But you are the top 100 digital marketing experts of 2018.
Number 85.
You are the top 10 industry influencers of Twitter, and you're also one of the top 50 of digital marketing influencers, and I'm really excited to be
that one I'm particularly proud of. Top 50 thought leaders over 50. Turning 50 was bad enough, but someone gave me a little tap on the shoulder to say, here's a nice softener for you.
It's obviously you're recognized as somebody that definitely knows Twitter inside and out. I'm super excited to have this chat with you and for talking to us about what you have coined Facebook Armageddon. Is that your term, or is that just
No, it's not my term, but it's a very common variation. Some people call it Facebook Zero.
Yeah.
But Facebook Armageddon is a phrase that people are bandying around because the changes are so massive.
Yeah. So why don't we start from the beginning? You know, you do have an understanding of all the channels. You're an expert at Twitter, but you know LinkedIn and you know Facebook and you know Snapchat and Instagram. Can we talk a little bit about the landscape of the last 10 years and where you see specifically Facebook? I mean, Facebook used to be our best friends as business owners, but obviously things have changed over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And I want to know what your thoughts are on how can small businesses embrace Twitter and use Twitter in their daily lives to make these connections offline, to get people to their events, to get people reading their book, and taking action offline.
Well, I'm very excited that you asked that question, because there is a tendency to treat Facebook as the ubiquitous one-stop shop, that all you need is Facebook and you can let the others go. And what happened with what's now been called Facebook Armageddon completely clarified that you cannot rely on one platform. You can't rely on any platform. I would never just say go on Twitter only. You've really got to have a developed strategy where you have maybe LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube, or Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, maybe 2 or 3. For a couple of reasons. One is they work really well together. Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same company. Twitter and LinkedIn have great synergy. YouTube and, say, Google Plus would work well together if Google Plus still exists. Yeah. So you've got to have lots. You've got to have a couple, but not too many. So maybe the landscape has changed in the sense that a lot of people up until Facebook Armageddon were thinking, look, I'll just use Facebook. Facebook's easy. Everyone's on it. It's easy to understand. That's all I need. Well, it's not the truth. I'm here to tell you that's not the truth. It doesn't have to be Twitter. I'm not telling you have to embrace Twitter, but you have to have a deeper understanding. You have to have a blog, say. You might need to be on LinkedIn. You might need to start doing videos or create a podcast.
That's right.
Or you might want to try a visual channel like Instagram or Snapchat. But just to decode on Facebook Armageddon, if people haven't heard of it, in January, Facebook made massive changes about the idea that businesses can no longer post for posting's sake. There has to be engagement There has to be interaction, and Facebook will de-emphasize, if not penalize, companies that just post all the stuff. Here's me, here's a special, here's a coupon, here's this, buy my stuff. What you've got to do, absolutely have to do, is you have to create engaging content where the conversations happen. This is also happening on LinkedIn too. The conversations happen so that people naturally want to chat, like this group. And the main inspiration for me doing this group with you is that one of the really major decoders, the secret lock, the key, if you like, to Facebook's new strategy is that if you do Facebook Lives inside Facebook groups, that is really the power module that will save you. You can also advertise. Facebook's never going to turn off their advertising button, but that increasingly costs a lot of money. You may not know this because I only found this out today. Australia is the highest place in the world to advertise on Facebook. We have the most expensive ads in the world and the slowest internet in the world. It's not fair. It's not fair. So, Facebook ads will always be there, and they'll always be a cost to you. And that's not a bad strategy if you've got the cost, if you've got the budget. But another strategy which we're trying here, and we'll increasingly be getting better at it, is we're trying Facebook Lives inside a Facebook group. With the point of view that it's not just a blanket recording with me talking to you, it's an engaged conversation with all of our group members saying, Keith, I've got a question. Sheena, can I ask this? What's going on here? Can you elaborate on this? So that it's like a conversation at a real event. Yes, that people don't have to be in that town to attend.
Yeah,
and so the reason I'm inspired by that moment in time, I think it happened on January 11, 18. That's the line in the sand moment for Facebook. I think it was January 11th. It might have been January 18th. But the point, it was January sometime. People are now starting to ask, and you've even asked me, well, Keith, if Facebook isn't as powerful as it once was, what else is there? So I'm here in this group to teach everything that I know about Twitter so that anyone in this group, a coach, a speaker, an author, can get maximum traction, maximum speaking gigs, maximum book sales, maximum clients from Twitter. I know a lot about it, and I've got a lot of tricks up my sleeve, which we'll talk about over the course of the next few weeks and months. Yeah. It absolutely works.
Absolutely. And Keith, you know what I love about you is that you've brought me back to talking about digital marketing as a general topic, because I mean, you and I both have digital marketing experience. I've been doing digital marketing for 20 years, but I stopped talking about digital marketing and I started talking about social media in 2009, and then I started talking about video. But what I'm starting to realize is that the people that I'm targeting, same people as you, authors, speakers, coaches, industry influencers, they're all businesses, and they all need to know the fundamentals of digital marketing. And I use the fundamentals of digital marketing. I'm using, for our group, an email channel, a Facebook Live group. I'm going to be taking this video, uploading it to YouTube. I'm going to be doing all of the things that we are going to be teaching people to do, because that's the landscape these days. You can't just be on one channel. You can't just be doing one video. You've got to be repurposing it, because your clients are on these different channels and they're going to resonate with you differently on these channels. So I'm excited to be talking about the general stuff, the email marketing, the CRM, the nuts and bolts that it takes to just have a business from a digital standpoint. So I'm always trying new things. This is not brand new, because my realm is Twitter. And the reason I chose Twitter, mainly two things. I'm a bloke. I can only do one thing at one time. That actually is a fact. That actually is a man fact. And the second thing is I decided I wanted to get really good at one thing rather than go wide and sort of be a master of none. So I know almost everything there is to know about Twitter, and I went really, 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 really deep, as you know, because you've witnessed some of our miracles, right? Absolutely. I'm starting to understand it's the connection. It's the connection and the speed that you connect with these people. I mean, we connected on LinkedIn, and 15 minutes later, we were on a phone call talking. And I think
And that
I
was
said,
2 weeks ago.
Is this the
That was
difference?
less than 2 weeks ago.
I know, Keith. And I said, is this the difference between Twitter? You wait 15 minutes when you connect on Twitter, but 2 weeks when you meet somebody on Facebook. And that's what it feels like. The connection with you and with everyone else that I've connected with on Twitter, it's been like that. It's been instantaneous. And there's no faff. There's solid conversation happening directly to the person that I want to connect with. And that's the biggest difference that I've seen with Facebook and Twitter in just the short 2 weeks I've been using Twitter. So thank you for showing me that. You're my long lost twin. You have been saying the same thing as me. Well, you're just on a different channel. I mean, I think on February 20th, which was my birthday, I was talking about repurposing video for different channels and the importance of doing that. And you wrote a blog talking about the same thing. We hadn't even met by this time. So when I met you, Keith, I mean, this doesn't happen very often, but I just knew that I needed to work with you because our synergy was so incredible from that first call. And ever since, I enjoy speaking to you so much that I'm really excited to bring you to this group, not only for the education, because you've got so much education, but you are an incredibly funny person, and you are such a great entertainer. And these people just need to see you, you know.
Well, I was actually saying that because just to pick up on this idea of stories and to entertainment, I see the world in a series of movie moments. I don't know if you know. Whenever I explain the world, I explain it through, you know, a scene of Bruce Almighty, or, you know, remember that part where he says that? Well, that's what I think. So I see the world as a movie, as a landscape, as a story, because telling a story is much easier to get the point across. And the point I want to make about you and I is that we're both in Melbourne driving to Cairns, and at some point in the road we went off on a tangent, and we didn't know that each other existed. I'm on the Newell Highway going up the coast, and you're on the Hume Highway going through the super fast road. But you know, we never and we meet in a bar in Cairns, right up the top of Australia, and we think, you know what, we've been travelling the same road. Wouldn't it have been so much easier had we have met in Byron and just sort of shared the load? And 1 + 1 = 3. I can do this on my own. I can, but it's harder. 1 + 1 = 3. Us coming together means that we have far more power.
Yeah.
Far more power than we would have on our own. Because, you know stuff that I don't know. I have friends that you don't have.
Yeah.
We've got tech and some sort of interests that other people don't have. I know lots about Twitter, you don't. You know, these sorts of things all come together so that we can share our collective wisdom. I'm all about that. And that's exactly why I'm very positive about this group, because it's not me as talking heads. It's not that. It's me talking to everyone in the group and sort of drawing out their wisdom and sharing that with the group, sharing their success stories with the group, getting the group to ask questions of us and other group members. Yeah. The thing I'm very, very, very excited about is that I think maybe once a month or so, we're going to have a special guest who takes this knowledge to the next level on a specific platform. It might be Snapchat. Right. It might be Periscope. Right. It might be WordPress. LinkedIn.
Yes.
It might be LinkedIn.
Yes.
Something that we know a little bit about because we're using it like everyone else, but it's not our power skill. It's not our superpower. And so I know the world's leading expert on Snapchat. He lives in Sydney and he's my best mate. And why not share his wisdom with this tribe? Because Snapchat has a specific flavour that might work with some people. And rather than everyone bashing around and trying to work it out themselves, because everything is on the internet, this group is about a collective hub. That's really the essence of the idea. It's this hub of people helping each other.
Yes. That's right. And I love that message. And I think something else that resonated with me from the very beginning is you're speaking to the same people that I'm speaking to. I didn't know this, but you are also speaking to authors and speakers, and you've written posts for coaches. And when I heard that your secret specialty sauce or your superpower was interviewing people, I almost fell off my chair, because that is my, secret sauce and my superpower. And so I am so excited for the day where we can bring our mastermind and interview. I mean, I know we're going to interview them, through the camera, but I want to see us having physical interviews with these people,
yeah, absolutely,
having
absolutely.
a chat one-on-one, and then using the power of Twitter to get that message all around the globe. And I think that's what I'm learning about you is, I've been so focused on Sydney, and I've been so focused on learning about video and, networking here, that you've brought a completely new perspective that the world is our oyster now, and we can target authors and speakers anywhere. I don't have to go out and do networking. I can.
I actually challenge people to actually play this game. Our chats will probably be, we haven't decided for sure, but they'll probably be Thursdays at 11 a.m. in Melbourne and Sydney, because we sync up most of the time, because we both have daylight saving. But that particular time is 8 a.m. in Perth and 1 p.m. in Auckland, and awake in other parts of the world, eager. I want to share this story. This guy, this friend of mine, is in New York, and his sister is having a baby, and he said to me, mate, she's screaming, I'm in the waiting room, I can't stand it. Can you send me something to read? Can you send me a video to watch? Can you send me one of your podcasts? Because I have to leave the room and do something else. I'm so stressed. I hope she's okay, but I can't stand the noise. And so he's basically and he's waiting, and he's sort of trying to get his head around it. He's in New York. His sister's having a baby. I'm in Melbourne, working on my blog post. So there's people in time in other parts of the world. I want you to get your head around this. Okay, it's 11 o'clock here in Melbourne, but it's 9 p.m. in New York. It's 6 p.m. LA. It's 3 p.m. in Hawaii. It's 1 p.m. in Auckland. It's 8 a.m. in Perth. Yeah. So people are coexisting at different times all over the world. And if you have a message that's worth sharing, it seems a shame to only share it in your town.
That's right.
It just seems such a shame. It even seems such a shame to only share it in your own language if it is that good. Some of my stuff's been translated into French, I can say I'm pretty proud of. So I've got people in Montreal and Paris and Brussels now reading my stuff in French. How cool is that?
Wow.
How cool is that? So they might listen to me in English, but they read my articles in French. Yeah. So really the world is your oyster. 7 billion people. Yeah. Most of them on the internet now. Everyone has access to you. Mm-hmm. And we this is my particular challenge to you too, because you like many people are very familiar with the idea of one-on-one networking.
That's right. Yeah. And it takes a lot to get dressed, put your makeup on, go out, network, speak to 20 people, and then come back with 20 business cards when you could have just done the same thing on Twitter in half the time.
It's not lazy. It's not a cop-out. It's just pure efficiency.
You're efficient. That's what I love. I know. That's what I love about you. You're a very efficient person, and you really harness the connections that you have globally. Can you share the story that you shared with me about the senior producer of CNN coming and having a chat with you in Melbourne from New York?
Yeah. He's still a good mate. So this is a very good example of how Twitter works. A very beautiful woman in New York, but who's from China. So let's say that. She's from Beijing, but she moves to New York. She wants to be a sort of reality TV host. So she said to me, Keith, this is the project. I want you to get my video, my video for my entry out into the world, and whoever gets the most views gets a gig, gets an audition. Right. So as a direct result of our efforts, collectively our efforts, her video was #1 in the US and #5 in the world. In terms of actual views. Yeah. She did a lot of that work, but also I helped as well. And so basically she was so excited by the fact that I had proven my worth that she sort of announced it in the Facebook group she was talking to at that time. And a friend of hers said, actually, I'm in Melbourne tomorrow. I'm actually from New York, but my mum lives in Melbourne and I'm going to be here. Have you got time to just sort of quickly come into the city and have a coffee? I said, okay. Yeah, no worries, people. So we went in there and we talked for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. You know, what a surprise. So he said, mate, if you're ever in New York, I want you to stay on my couch. I want you to sleep in my house. But it just so happens, in spite of all of that friendship, in addition to, the job title he had was Senior Producer for CNN. That was his job title. That's just absolutely what he had to do for what he was doing for a living. But we were besties. We were having coffee and laughing and hanging out in Melbourne and doing things. And so that all happened as a result of me helping a girl from China who lives in New York, who wanted to be on a reality TV show, who knew a guy in New York whose mum lived in Melbourne. Now, if you can see that synergy, if you can see that line of connectedness, you realise how powerful this is. If I hadn't helped her because she's from China, and why would I help her? Just say if I was thinking that, oh, well, I'm not helping. I don't go to China. I don't want clients in China. I don't know. If I had that closed approach to networking, I wouldn't have helped her. It's naturally, spontaneously my character to help people. So a person in China moves to New York. She knows someone in New York. That person in New York has a client, has a parent in Melbourne. I'm in Melbourne. We had a coffee. We have met a real person. Turns out we haven't worked together, but it turns out that he's a senior producer for CNN. So you just never know. That's 6 degrees of separation. Yeah,
that's right.
I just really want to encourage people to get out of the localized mindset that they have to go into the city and suit up and meet people in their town. I want them to get out of that mindset. And I want them to realise that you can meet people on Twitter who are still people, even if you haven't had coffee with them. Some people believe you're only a friend if you've had coffee or shared a meal. You know, I've got best friends in the world that I've never met before. How can I know that they're my best friends? Well, we've chatted on the phone. We've shared funny stories. You can tell. You can just tell. Maybe they're pretending. I don't know. But the point is that I would never have met these people if I waited for them to come to Melbourne, or if I waited for an opportunity for me to go to them. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a mindset. It's a mindset shift. But I'd really like to encourage people to try that.
And, you know, and I have to say, Keith, you have changed my mindset. And ever since I stepped on, well, first of all, my followers have increased, I think, by 25. It's only been a couple of weeks. I've barely done anything. It's been all of your amplification of the posts that I've done. But I've now got 25 new followers in just 2 weeks. And I've made real solid connections with the people that I want to speak with. And they're replying right back to me. So, I mean, we spoke earlier that it is such a quick, responsive network, but the connections that you have are so deep with these people that you can get a reply and a response almost instantaneously. Well, and that's what I've noticed. I just noticed it takes, you know, just a few minutes for us to get onto the phone and to start a conversation. What would take normally?
I don't know if you use LinkedIn very often, but the direct opposite with LinkedIn, as it used to be and still is to a certain extent, is that you sort of almost have to know someone to connect with them. You don't, but you know what I mean? There's a barrier. It's very closed, and it's very hard to network with someone that you don't know unless they happen to know someone that you know, or they can recommend you to someone that they know. It's really quite clumsy. Yeah. But I want to share this story. This is probably my favourite networking story, just based on sheer power. I have the habit now of checking my messages quickly before bed because it's early morning in the US when I go to bed. 11 p.m. is 7 a.m. So 11 a.m. I'm checking my messages, and this really cool dude says, mate, I love your stuff. If you're ever in New York, I want you to come and speak to our team. Because, you know, I just dig the way you speak, and you've got some good ideas. I'll make room for you. Make sure you come to New York one day, and I'll get you in. I said, oh, that's really quite cool. I'm not in New York very often. It's a long way, but I appreciate the sentiment. He said, well, I definitely mean it. So when I looked at his resume or his bio, it turns out that he was the chief marketing officer for Mercer.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
And he just happened to be 7 a.m. on a Friday morning in his jammies, having a piece of toast, checking his messages like I was. And he had like 2 minutes while the kettle was boiling to just say, look, this guy's good. I just want to give him some kudos for that. It was a moment. Once you get your head around the idea that it's not this clunky little suit up, go into the city, have a formal chat, go out for lunch, buy, champagne. It's this, look, mate, I'm just a guy in the suburbs and I'm just checking my messages before I'm going to bed. Hey, mate, I'm just a guy in New York just checking my messages before I go to work. We got that in common. Just so happens the job I do is at a level. But, when you get your head around this idea that you're sharing content, you're being useful, you're being a resource, people will respond. They will, because we want to.
Yeah.
We want to be good people. We want to hang out with good people. We want to share. We want to be nice. We don't want to be mongrel. We don't want to be mongrels. We don't want to be self-conscious and sharing, and we don't want to be guarded all the time. It doesn't feel nice to sort of share. It's just not a nice way to be. It's much nicer to share what you know and have trust in the world to look after you.
Yeah.
The universe will provide is my sort of catchphrase. And it is, and it has.
Yes. Aw. Keith, you're a breath of fresh air. You know that? You are just a breath of fresh air. I love your outlook on life, and I'm very excited and I'm very grateful that we're doing this together, because my world just got 10 times better now that you're in it, and I get to speak with you every single day.
What a lovely thought.
And we get to bring our minds together to deliver this information to people who really need it. I mean, the whole reason why I dusted this group, well, I created a training course 2 years ago, and I was too far. I'm just like you, Keith. I'm burning the edge here with technology and advancement in how you need to communicate. And people weren't interested in 2015. But now, fast forward 2 years, and Facebook Live didn't exist back then, but now people are asking me questions, and I'm finding that I'm constantly giving answers about, how do you do this, and what is a good editor, and all these questions. And so I've dusted this off, and you've come into the picture so almost serendipitously. And now we're coming together and we're merging our minds together, and I feel like we're covering everything that people need to know. And my goal and my vision for this is that we need to get the foundation done, which we're going to help them through. But then once the foundation is done, they're going to stick around, because first of all, they're going to get entertained by you. They're going to ask questions at any time, and I'm going to help them with questions. We're going to have workshops with, actually getting stuff done, because that's what my skill is, actually getting stuff done, actually doing stuff. And I just think that the merging of our minds together is really the powerful thing about this group. And we're going to be specifically targeting authors, speakers, and coaches, because you've got this great story about how when you had your coaching license, you weren't really given the tools as a business owner to move forward. And we see that there's a gap in the market with, once you've written your book or once you've gone through school, you're done, and you're supposed to, pick up and start a business. And it takes more than that. So I'm hoping that we could have very much see the missing link, that missing piece of the puzzle, couldn't we? Yeah, that's right. And I feel very good and very positive about this. And I think seeing you on camera every week is just going to be reason to jump out of bed every day. That's great. I actually think this particular project's the most exciting one I've been involved with for at least 5 years. I've had a couple of successes in the early days, and I've had a couple of quick wins. And we all have the ups and downs and the turbulent times, and maybe that's what makes this process authentic. We're not just straight out of school. We've been knocking it about. We've had our hard yards, we've had our big wins, we've had our bad days, and we're sharing the journey. Yeah, and it's exhausting learning. Like, I just want to fast track what I have learned, not only in business, but with my video experience. Like, I can fast track what you need to do. And I'm going to teach you, Keith, some of the tricks that I've learned. But it's really just because I'm a very efficient person as well. You and I are so similar in so many ways that it takes time to learn. But that's what this group is going to be about. It's like cutting out the crap that you go through to learn, and just to get on with it, to be who you were meant to be. And then once you get really good at being either the author or the coach or the speaker, then you become industry influencer, and then you're you're top of your game, and that's when the interviewing comes in. And yeah, I'm so excited. I really am.
Well, I can't wait to see how this evolves. My gut feeling is this will be something like once a week. Yeah, I'm proud of the markets, haven't you? I can't wait to see how it comes out and to repurpose it and to be our own case study.
That's right, Keith. That's right. Well, I'm so excited to be working with you, and I'm so excited that you can have this wealth of knowledge about Twitter that you're going to share with us. And I've got video and digital marketing to share with the people, and it's going to be lots of laughs as well. Lots of laughs. It's been lots of laughs since I've picked up the phone that one night. So I look forward to more meetings with you and more videos and interviews. And yeah, let's get started, huh?
Perfect.
how did you
Yeah.
get interested in Twitter, and,
Yeah.
and what were your thought process? Yeah, when you started.
So, you know, I'm over 50 now, so I've had my 20 years in corporate. I've done the day job thing. So for a very, very long time, up until my 40th birthday, I worked 5 days a week, 2 days off, go into the city, go home, weekends on my own. And I just got sick of that model. You know, I just got sick of working for someone else in a job that I really didn't want, and then having 2 days to sort of catch up. So on my 40th birthday, I quit. Long story short, I quit my job, and I just decided enough's enough. I'm unhappy now. There's got to be a better way. So I went back to school. I became a career counsellor from the point of view that if I hated my job so long, someone recommended I'd make a fantastic career counsellor, and I was, because I had complete empathy with the idea that if you hate your job, I get it. So I did that for 5 years. But the reason I'm passionate about what I do now is that instead of getting flyers and business cards and walking the room, going to networking events and suiting up and having conversations with people, which, you know, are fine and fun sometimes, I just decided, you know what, I want to reach a bigger audience. I want to play a bigger game. So I started a radio show on a really cool network called Blog Talk Radio, which still exists. It's so funny now that Blog Talk Radio is an audio format, and now we're talking about the same sort of thing but in video. So this is really like a re-energizing of my original idea. So we started this radio show every Monday morning at 8 a.m. We thought, okay, if you hate your job, tune in to us, because we're going to give you some goss. I know you hate your job, and I know you've taken a sickie, as we call them here. And we're going to tell you how to write a resume, how to use LinkedIn, how to network, how to find a job you like, how to find a career you want. And we had experts calling in all over the world. We had up to 8 guests, and we had people calling in from Toronto and Vancouver and the Solomons and, you know, New Caledonia and people. One guy actually used to get up at 3:35 a.m. every Monday to listen to us, just for the chance that he might be able to ring in. And he did. He rang in quite a few times. He goes, mate, it's 3:35 in the morning here, and I love your show so much that I got up. And so when I saw that working, I live in Melbourne. We have 4 million people. There's plenty of people here. But when I realised that a guy in the UK and a guy in Toronto and a guy in New Caledonia and a really lovely career coach in Vancouver were all tuning into my show and then became guests on my show and advocates for my show, then I thought, you know, that's the world we live in. That's the world I want to live in. That my friend in Vancouver can talk to my friend in Toronto, even if they've never met. My friend in Sydney can talk to my friend in London, even if he's not going there. So that's the world I inhabit now. And the reason I chose Twitter to inhabit that world is that at the time of the radio show, 2008, we had 3 major choices: Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter, the power trio. They're still the power trio, but we have much more choice now. And there was a spike, an undeniable 10x spike on Twitter versus the others to get a result. We did a show, if you like it, send 180 to 1,800 downloads overnight in one particular show.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, if this is working, this idea of doing a show once on my laptop, sending it to iTunes, and then getting people to watch the replay, listen to the replay. You know, I get that. I mean, I've done one piece of content one time. You got me at my best. Now I'm going to spend the rest of the week promoting it. Rather than going to events, because I was going to events and I was saying the same thing. I was saying the same thing again. And I said this yesterday. I said this last week. I'm doing it again. Right? And I became a bit tired with that. That being said, I still love speaking because I do love the energy of the live thing. But I just found that it was much more beneficial to many more people. Like that show, when we ran it for 2 years, was listened to in 127 countries.
Wow.
127 countries were listening in when they're walking the dog, having a sickie because they couldn't stand their job, getting some hope, that maybe they could find a better job. And the thing that I love about the internet is that it's quite probable that the person that you really need doesn't live in your town.
Right. Wow.
So what happens if you've got a question and no one in your circle knows the answer, but someone living in Pakistan or Azerbaijan or Nairobi has the wisdom to answer that question for you, as it was for him, because that's his life. And realm for you because it's not your life.
Yeah.
So I started hanging out on the internet, and I chose Twitter for that. It works for me.
Yeah.
We've only known each other a very short time, but you've seen and you've heard me talking about all my famous stories.
Yeah.
All of which are true about how I've met people and helped people all over the world.
And that's the thing I really admire about you, Keith, is because you understand it's not just fluff and air. It's actually you have concrete ROI on the connections that you make and the drive behind your intention of Twitter, because you connect with them online, but your goal is to have a coffee or a phone chat and to bring that connection offline into a physical conversation or a physical meeting. And we see that in all of your examples, whether it's with you personally or it's with a connection that you talk a lot about the connections that you bring together in America. And I just think that that's a wonderful attribute that you bring, because it's not all about liking and tweeting. It's about meeting these people.
Yeah, well, let me give you a really concrete example that's happening now that we can play out, because I really want to chart this out and I really want to see this develop, because that's what a lot of what I do is happening in real time now, with no real guarantee that it's going to work, but when it does, it's such a thrill. So 5 o'clock last night, PM, I'm just about to start dinner, and a friend of mine in Atlanta, it's 2 a.m, she goes, can we have a chat? No, I've lost my way. I just want to hear your voice. So she said, okay, no worries. Long story short, she's having a bit of trouble. She lives in Atlanta, and she's not so happy about that, but she's from LA and her mum's in Atlanta and she's helping her out. And, she's doing the best she can. So the story there is a person from LA's moved to Atlanta and has sort of fell on hard times. The second story, which is and I'll talk about this in a minute, my friend in New York is travelling down the coast of America and then over to LA because she's an actress and she wants to accumulate stories and a show reel and a video series about what she's doing before she gets to LA. So she's got a real story to tell. So her story is that she travels from town to town and she gets a gig, does a little video, moves on. And she's currently in Atlanta. So here's this friend of mine in Atlanta thinking, look, I'm sick of this. I've been on the road a year. I can't get any gigs. I'm moving house every 2 days. I think I might go home. Really depressed. Here's my friend in another suburb of Atlanta thinking, I'm from LA. I loved it there, but now I'm in Atlanta and I'm making the best of it, but things are not working out. And this guy in Melbourne, Australia, just about to start dinner, has brought those two people together on Twitter and social media in general, but for me it's Twitter. And they're actually going to have a physical coffee before this girl moves on her journey back to Miami, because that's the next town she's going to. So two people in Atlanta would have just passed by, maybe even in the street. Yeah. Not knowing the synergy that there is there. Now, if something happens as a result of that, which I think there will, then we can put that all down to the internet. Yes. Because they were never going to bump into each other randomly.
That's right.
So here's a guy in Melbourne, Australia. It happens to be the internet that we're talking about. Here's a guy in Melbourne, Australia, putting together two people from totally different parts of America who happen to be in Atlanta at this moment for circumstances almost beyond their control. Yeah. And if something happens, it's like the quintessential vindication of my story.
I know.
Why I love what I love. Now, let me be very clear. I have never met these people in person. I have never had a coffee with them. And when I rang Sally last night, that's the first time I ever actually rang her. Wow. She's heard hundreds of my podcasts and I've heard hundreds of her things, but we've never actually chatted on the phone. And it's a little bit of a trust factor, I live in Melbourne, as I said. There's 4 million people here, and there's a lot of funky, awesome people here.
Yeah.
But it might not be the answer to my question in my immediate circle of live people, which is why I've sort of stopped going to live events. I still go to them, but I stopped sort of being so fanatical about them. And that's really the essence of what I teach. It's really the essence of, I think, what Be Seen TV is really about. That you have a story, and there might be a piece of the puzzle that you can't solve because your circle's not, sort of global. Yeah? And I only hang out with awesome people. I only hang out with people that want to help. I give them a chance. I give people 2 chances, maybe 3 strikes and you're out. If people really stick it to me, I'll suck it up once. I'll suck it up once. And I go, you've had your turn, what I call you've had your free look. That's my little phrase I tell myself. You've had a go. You've had a chance to be nice. I'm going to trust that you will be. If you're not, no worries. Not everyone is. And you get kicked in the guts a few times. You meet occasionally some bad eggs. But if you go into the world with this idea that I'm going to help as many people as I can, and I'm just going to trust that I'll be all right, you can create miracles. I mean, you've seen them. We've had examples ourselves.
Well, that's exactly right. We need to share with the audience about our story. I mean, we had an email introduction, and within 15 minutes we were on the phone talking, and then within 24 hours we were already forming a partnership. Within a week our products were ready. I mean, because it turns out that we have such synergy. We have been speaking about the same thing. Yeah. I mean, I am amazed that the secret sauce that has made me be seen in a foreign city. I don't know anyone here in Sydney, and I've got strangers on the street noticing me because of this secret sauce that I've established in my career. And you're doing the same thing. You're just doing it on a platform that I never investigated. I'm on, but I don't know it because I know all of the others. And I chose not to know Twitter because I can't know all these channels. Yeah. But I know all about digital marketing, and I know all about video as well. And then here you come along, you know all about the channels, you know about Twitter, but you don't know about video. And so our stories are just so similar and so synergistic that if you hadn't picked up the phone and called me, we wouldn't be here. And I think I compared it to, it takes 15 minutes to connect with somebody on Twitter, what would take 2 weeks with somebody on Facebook. And I think that I'm starting to understand that Twitter is one of those platforms that it's so quick that you have to take action, or it'll be yesterday's news before you know it.
Well, I've been chatting. I think we should have Gillian on this show to talk about LinkedIn, because this show, BBC, this whole idea, this mastermind idea, is that we're going to talk about what we know, but we don't know everything. And we're going to bring on experts to talk about what they know, so that our group, the group that we're developing here, will get the absolute latest goss. And I've been chatting to Gillian because she's a LinkedIn expert, and I said, look, LinkedIn's a little bit like chess. It's very strategic. It's quite cool, but it's very strategic. It's very sensible. It's very logical. There's rules. Twitter is like the Super Bowl. It's fast. It's funky. It's over in half a day. You're in and you're out. Yeah. And Justin Timberlake sings at halftime. That's what I live in, the Super Bowl world. Gillian lives in the chess world. It's slow, strategic, sensible, logical, organised. Yes. It's fast. You're in and you're out, and doesn't suit everyone. You've got to be of that mindset. But there's no point playing the LinkedIn game on Twitter, and there's no point playing the Twitter game on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's true.
I would annoy people on LinkedIn, and people that play the LinkedIn game just don't get noticed, because Twitter is fast. You've got to be tweeting all the time. You've got to be in there. You've got to be up for it.
Right. So that's a really good point. It leads me into,